Okay, this is Sheldon Lathe stuff going on today. And, you know, we've got the cabinet back reassembled, got the drawers in it, got it painted up inside and out. And we're about ready to set the bed back on it. Now, I was going to do some risers underneath the end of that bed. I was going to raise them about inch to inch and a half. I figured about inch and a half. Right now I've got it on roller stands, and it's all set wonky. You can't tell anything the way it's sitting right now. But I've got it on just a little cheap roller stands so that I can move it around as we scrape it and fit parts to the back side and the front side and everything. So we've got a little bit of mobility with it yet. It'll eventually get set down, and I'm going to put the same little feet that I put underneath pretty much all of my little machines of this weight category, which is just a hockey puck. You know, I've just taken hockey pucks. You've seen me do these before. I think I did a little video on these feet at one point in time. But I'm going to put them back underneath it. So that will actually raise it up about an inch and a half, whereas the other Sheldon's still just sitting on the floor. I haven't ever bothered to put feet underneath it. So, and the way this bracket is, normally I put one of these under each corner, and that gives it enough adjustability and everything. By the time you put the bolt and the nut in these and bolt them in place, you get about an inch and a half. And normally, like I say, I put about one under each corner. This one I'm going to put two under each corner just because of the way that they've laid out the brackets. They've got a bracket underneath each corner, and it's got two holes, and it looks like they're spaced just about right to put two of these pucks underneath. A little more screwing around to get it leveled, but it will give it a little more uniformity in the way it sits, rather than just putting them in the front per se and then having them torqued down, you know, on front and back, and potentially, you know, break a leg loose or something over time. So should cut down on vibration a little bit more. So that's going to add an inch and a half right there. So I think for right now, I'm not going to put risers underneath there. I've been thinking on it. I actually had material pulled to build patterns of. So I'm going to save the little templates that I made off of the feet of this lathe, and I'll tuck them away if I need it at some later point in time, or decide that it'd be an advantage. Well, I'll go back and we'll cast them, build some patterns and cast them. But for right now, we're just going to leave it like that. A lot of little stuff as we go along this cabinet. It seems like every Sheldon cabinet that I've seen, or both of mine, have been missing one of the latch assemblies. So we're going to go back and see if we can't replicate some semblance of the original latch assembly for the drawers, so that we've got complete latches on every drawer rather than just having an open hole or something not set. This door, I straightened it up quite a bit, and it's still got a little twist to it down at the bottom. It was beat up pretty bad. Once the latch is on there, why, that's going to straighten itself up. All the rest of the parts for this lathe, minus the motor and the electronics, are underneath either the center of the bed or down in this end. I don't know. I'll just drag them out as we need them. And I've got to paint up all that stuff and everything yet. But we're going to go through, probably the next thing after I get the bed set up, or set on here, is we'll start on probably the Underdrive assembly. It's missing some stuff. It's actually missing one of the 4 needle bearings that's in one of the shafts and things like that. There's a little bit of work to that, so we'll get into that. And we're going to take each component one at a time. We're going to completely disassemble it and go through, do whatever repairs we need to do or that I deem necessary. And as we do them, then we'll install it, and at some point in time we'll have a lathe again. So the bed's sitting over here. I've got the feet bolted back underneath it, and it's all painted up. I'm going to try and fairly well level it on the planer bed. Now, my planer's not big enough to do any actual machining on this, I don't think, and I don't think I'm going to need to. I'm hoping it's not that far out. It appears to be in pretty good shape. But what I am going to do is, and let's bring you over here so you can look at it, but what I am going to do with the bed is I'm going to try and roughly level it up. Actually, I'm going to try and level it up real well, which means I'm going to have to shim it. There's some steps in this bed at each end. So we'll have to shim it, level it, true it up on the bed as much as I can, and then I'm going to use it as a reference plane. We'll run the planer through its travel and just see if we can't check some of these dimensions a little bit with the dial indicator running them across. And that'll give me some idea of where, anyway. Like I say, I can't traverse the whole thing at once, and I probably won't be able to traverse the entire bed anyway, but I'm mainly interested in this section here where the main wear area is going to be on it. So we'll take some measurements. You know, I mean, basically we can stick a dial indicator any place we want on the arm once we get it trued up, and we can run it along and see just how true it is, you know, in that respect. It won't be perfect, but with the equipment that I've got right now, that'll give us some indication. So here's the underdrive unit for the Sheldon Lathe. I've already started driving bearings out. Let me get a pair of gloves on so that I don't get too greasy. So the more I get into this lathe, the more little things I find that have been either Mickey Mouse together or incorrect, or something's just not right with them. So I've already driven the first bearing out here, and got all kinds of grease here we're going to have to contend with, I guess. Nonetheless, now this set of bearings, and these bearings are all the same. This one is missing the entire inside out of it. There was no needles or anything there, whereas this is the way they are. Boy, that's a good set of gloves there, isn't it? There's 8 of these bearings all together in this countershaft assembly, or in this drive assembly. There's 2 in each of these carriers. One here, one here, one here, one here, and then the same way for the ones down below. And what I'm going to do is just get it disassembled. I only really needed one bearing out of here. They're all supposedly the same, but wanted to get it disassembled, so I had at least one bearing out so that I can get some more ordered. So we might as well just continue to drive them out. And maybe that's hanging pretty bad. I wonder if the Zert fittings are interfering with it. Might as well get them out of the way. Come on now. Well, if you're going to be that way about it, we'll get a proper wrench. And we might as well get a tub to start putting pieces in. Doesn't look like there's a number on there. We'll just have to measure them out. We're going to replace all these, but we might as well save them. And I would imagine that's about a 1-inch OD. 1.185. 0.185 OD. And ID, I imagine it's supposed to be 875. It's actually 865, but we know it's going to be 875. And it looks to be about 3/4 long. Yep. Or wide. Okay, so now we know what our bearings are. All right. So I guess we might just as well disassemble it and just stay after it because we can get her all broke down. Let's get this shaft out. Now I did find as I've disassembled stuff off of here that the sizes of set screws is just all over the place. Part of these have had locks on the inside of them, and part of them haven't. Should have a keyway fall out of here. Couple of keyways. Oh no, just one in grease. Got a collar here on the inside. Not in your way, am I, pup? Might have been easier and better to pressure wash this off first, but no, that's too small. These are in here at a little bit of an angle. Third size. Okay, that one's loose. I'm not going to pull it all the way out. That way I know which end of the shaft is there when we start doing stuff with it. So now we got another set of, another 2 sets of bearings. We have a washer on this end, another washer on the other end. Now we have a wider washer on the right hand end. Right hand side as we're looking at it from the front. On the left side, make sure we're just not missing these on all of them. It's not, we've got just a little thrust washer, shim washer on the left hand side. We'll have to use this as a reference when we put it back together again. So we'll get our grease zerks out of here. Got a little wire, must be a retainer on one end of a needle bearing, is my guess. Like I say, I found several things that have been worked on this lathe. I don't know if they were trying to do stuff with it just to get it going, or if it was just neglected so bad that they didn't, in some respects, that they just didn't fix anything, or what the deal was. But the main things I've found so far has been like that one bearing being completely gone, and it was that way when I disassembled it, so it had been gone. You know, the internals were gone out of it for some time. They had to have put it back together with the internals gone in it. And this shaft being locked here is not the way it should be, so we'll have to fix it. The rest of these bearings did have grease in them, so it's not like they've been actually run dry. It just had that one, they've greased it after they had worked on everything here. This shaft, I think we're going to go ahead and get these collars off of here if we can. Need to, I guess we should clean this shaft up just a little bit, see if that makes it come apart a little better rather than drive all that grease and crap through there. We'll at the very minimum clean up these shafts real good. We may replace them too, or part of them. Just see how they really look. I would like to use this one, so I'm sure I will use this one if it cleans up okay, just because it's already got the threaded, everything threaded for on the ends of it. So if I don't have to redo that, that's what I'm gonna do. Boy. And these collars were not situated on either side. They were just wadded up in the middle. The outer collars were, I believe, spaced up here. Might have been set up. Looks like there's a collar. These were actually out on the outside, and they held it in place from going side to side. I had hit this with some Croil, hopefully, to get it broken free, and it's helped it some because it was solid. There we go. Yeah, see, this collar should float or this shaft should float just like that on there. It shouldn't be solid. Should not be solid. Going to be a fight all the way out, isn't it? And so goes another glove. Why that one's so tight. There we go. the end with the key in it, or with the lock in it for a set screw, goes on the left-hand end towards the outer end of the cabinet. Cutter keys down inside to hold this shaft. We should be able to just tap them loose. I say that they're probably seized in place too. Let's add a little more croil to this. Let's see, let's go ahead and take this one loose. This is for an adjustment knob here. This key will come in there, then this should slide out. There's that pin. This side we've got a little retainer ring here. Little C-clip, E-clip, whatever you want to call it. So as this goes on here, it either goes top or bottom. I'm not sure which way. I'll have to look at the, there again, I've got another one to compare it to. So when we go to reassemble that, we'll just compare it to the other lathe and put it the same way. This shaft will slide out. And then that handle won't slide out yet because we have, looks to be another E-clip on there. Which I'm actually not going to take out yet, because that will thread out. This collar's, looks like it's peened on there is my guess, so we'll leave that. We'll clean all this stuff up. Still got these to, oh, those shafts are going to turn, it looks like. There we go. half of a cotter key, or a portion of a cotter key. Other portion of a cotter key. All right, well, hopefully, I'm just down to the end on disassembling this. Hopefully I didn't lose too much of the video. Dang, battery went dead. I look up and I think it was just then shutting down when I looked up. So I think we didn't lose much, if anything. But going back to recap, I was down to the last two bolts that were here in the bottom that held the motor on. I'd screwed them back in when I pulled the motor off. When I disassembled this, that was another thing. There was only the two bolts holding it. The motor was just kind of hanging there. So somebody either couldn't get back there to get the other two bolts in the back end, or whatever the case may be. So anyway, we're completely disassembled now. So anyway, that disassembles the underdrive for the drive assembly. So we'll get bearings ordered for that. We'll start cleaning it up. I'm not going to worry about showing that. Maybe we'll show a little bit when we start. Well, we'll show it when we reassemble it, but we'll get everything cleaned up, degreased, painted up, new bearings for it. Then we can put it back together and then hang it underneath. If you look behind me, I've got the bed sitting on the stand. It's in its resting place for now. It's not bolted down because I need gaskets for underneath both ends. I've got to order gasket material too. I'll probably order that at the same time I order the bearings. The original design, the parts list shows a gasket underneath both ends. So if you're running coolant in your drip tray or something like that, it's not going to run in underneath and hopefully rust the insides or that type of thing. And since it was there originally, well, I will put them back on there. You know, I hadn't really seen any that actually still have a gasket underneath there. They've all been reworked over the years, and this, that, and something else. So anyway, that's the drive assembly disassembled. This is this much of it put back together. Took a few measurements on the lathe bed. Couldn't get a real accurate much of anything on there, and didn't feel it was worth spending too much time doing it when I still had it sitting on the planer. As you expect, they were a little bit bellied out here in this section from the headstock out to about here type of thing. It drops a little bit. Measuring width and everything, a little bit of wear in the center. I think it probably could be better. We'll take more accurate measurements, and we are going to do some work to it. So that's kind of where we're at. So quick little update. If you are not following me on Instagram, I've been just throwing little clips of this out there pretty much every day for the last few days. So you know, you might want to look at the Instagram stuff if this interests you. I'm not showing a whole lot of anything, but you're getting a little bit of an idea of what I am working on. Anyway, that's what we got for you today. Hopefully you find that a little bit interesting and useful. Comments, suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below, guys. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.